comes as a manager. So what does manager do? So obviously manager tries to achieve the organizational goals, as I was saying before. So it is the leadership skills that come in so that they encourage others to make sure that we're achieving organizational goals. How do we do that? We actually arrange for others to do the task. So others, we encourage, we promote, we motivate others to do the task, whereas not really that he or she is doing the task. So we get the task done by others to achieve the organizational goals. It's another part of management definition. Okay, now usually like there is one or two definitions. For here we did not come to one consensus for a definition. Okay, so all existing, there were a lot of definitions which are moving and changing, and then there is one definition which has been mostly acceptable, and that definition is management is a process of planning, organizing, leading and controlling the efforts of an organization members and using all other organization resources to achieve the stated organization goals. Let's go back and do it again. So management is a process of planning, organizing, leading and controlling. We already discussed that. And efforts of organization members. So all those people who are working for the organization, and any other resources that they are available to achieve the stated goals. A goal could be having 100 tourists going to a particular destination, or having 100 guests filling the hotel that particular day or night, or selling 50 tour packages, or developing new package. So all could be anything, could be that. Okay. Now, so the process is actually a systematic way of doing things. So, and you're doing the same, isn't it? Management is also doing the same thing, isn't it? Hence, management is a process, because the activities of, they all are linked: planning, leading, organization and control. So they're interrelated, right? So it's a process, and it's actually called continuous process. It keeps on going. Let's say you did one task and you made a one package and you send people and you realize and you got some feedback, right? Now, because you got feedback, you want to improve upon. Then you plan again. Okay, last time I had 20 customers complaining of particular hotel. This time I may change. I may not send my customer to that particular hotel, right? Or to the particular destination, which is a tour agency. That particular guide is actually not able to, satisfy the customer requirements or request. He is not able to communicate well. So maybe I need to give them training or whatever it is. So this is actually a process itself, because it keeps on going. So management is actually a process. Okay. Now, manager, the person who is responsible for the operation of the show, is a manager, right? So what manager does is actually uses the resources available in an organization. So I still remember we used to call it M. M for money, M for men, N for manpower or men, M for machinery. So it's like they use the resources like M's, we used to call M. So like finances, money, equipment, machinery, information, technology, and people. Okay, so they use all. Why? Because they want to achieve the stated goal. Now, every organization they will have their own goals, right? Because they may have objectives and let's say management goals, and obviously they will need to use the whole team to achieve their goals, right? Now, a goal of an organization who is working in healthcare will be different to a goal of organization who is working in tourism or in hospitality or in engineering. But they all have one common thing, that they have particular organization goals and they use the resources they have within the organization to achieve those, right? Now, George A. Terry and Stephen G. Franklin, they gave a certain key characteristics that could be useful, or that is useful to understand the management. So let's look at the characteristics given by George A. Terry and Stephen G. Franklin for understanding management. So let's start with the first thing. Number A, it says management is purposeful. Purposeful, that means what is purpose? What exactly are you getting out of it? Because it deals with achievement of something. And when you say achievement of something, that means an objective or a goal. So in management, you have some objectives, as I said, organization objectives to what you want to do. So management is done to achieve an objective or a goal. Now, how do we measure the success? So you measure the success either, by looking at, how much have you achieved those goals. Let's say, for the example over here, if I want to send, let's say, I want to sell my tourist package from India to, let's say, let's move it at this stage. This is COVID, so I'm wondering, where do I send? Let's do the domestic tourism. Let's say I want to send some tourists from Delhi to Jammu. Yeah. So we have new train which is going in 6 hours and reaching Jammu in 6 hours. So let's develop a package that to send people to Jammu and maybe Kashmir now. Now, how much, I want to send, let's say, 50 tour packages of 20 group of 20 each. So 15 to 20 is how much? 1,000. So I want to send 1,000 people in this coming summers, which is coming. Okay. Now, management will be arranging all those manpower, machinery, resources, internet information, all those things involving and sending those people over there. If you are able to achieve this goal of sending those 50 package of group of 20 each, which is making 1,000 of your tourists, you achieve your goals. But if you're not able to do 50, you are not able to achieve the goals. That's where the success and see what did go wrong. So you'll see, okay, fair enough. So that was where you look at it, and you find out, oh, where did I go wrong? Why could I not make it 50? And if you made, instead of 50, if you make 60, you say, oh, where did I do well? You understand, both ways. So you learn both ways. If I didn't do, okay, what did I not do? If you do well, what did I do well? So both things will be considered, and that's where you look at it. Okay, now the second one was the management makes things happen. What do you mean by that? Management makes things happen. Yes. So I'm not too sure if you would have done any work anywhere, but imagine if you had your unit test in the school, right? So when you had a unit test, before unit test, you will go and study this, make sure you go back and study your notes you have taken in the class or homework you have done so that you're ready for the next test, right? And this test is actually, it's forcing you to study and go back and find out, right? Now, similar way in a management, we look at it. Because the managers focus on the attention and efforts are bringing about a successful action. What does it mean is that managers, they work together with the team and they want to have a reaction, or they bring the due efforts to involve every team members so that there is something result or output that's coming out or successful action is coming out. For that matter, if I say, so you will, as a team leader, as a manager, will involve your team members. One will find out the rates, other person may find out what is happening in terms of rules and regulations in Jammu Kashmir when you want to send people to Jammu Kashmir now. What will be the weather, how much is the airline, which all local travel agents are supporting you, which train tickets will be taking, how will you get the bookings done, which hotel and accommodation they'll be staying, who will be taking taxi, local taxi, so many things, isn't it? So a manager will focus on efforts, what all things will be done together so that there is a successful outcome, right? Now, obviously, as I was telling you, the package, the manager will delegate the duties to who will do what and how, what are the actions will be, and you add all those actions and you will have a successful results coming out. Now, management is actually an activity. It is not a group or a person. So manager is an action, an activity. That means it's like a swimming. Swimming is an activity, right? Swimming is not a person. Similarly, management is an activity. Management is not a person who is a manager. It is not a management. Management is actions that work together to achieve some goals. Now, people who actually do this activity, they call managers. That means activity of planning, organizing, coordinating and controlling. So these are called managers, because or they could be executive, they could be leaders, or the members of management committee or whatnot. So what they do all do the basic same concepts, that they plan, they organize, they coordinate, and then they look at their actions. If my actions are okay. Now, management is actually an activity which is distinct. That means this is different. How? That it actually can be studied. Yes, you can study management. Yes, you can. And knowledge about how it can be obtained. So you can obtain knowledge about management. And certainly, there are certain skills that can be acquired, skills that can be applicable. Skills like planning. What are different skills in planning? How do I plan? What is my steps involved in planning? So in planning, you may have checklists. Do I need to do this, A, B, C? And then in terms of coordinating anyone, how will I delegate the task? Whom will I delegate the task? When will I delegate the task? How much will I delegate the task or the work to the person? So it's again, the skills can be acquired. You can study that and you can use that while doing management. Now, it is important to understand that there is a tendency to perform all the things yourself, in terms of you should be able to get those tasks accomplished or completed through the efforts of the group members. That means you are, as a manager, you have the onus or responsibility to make sure that your team is working together to achieve the goal and to get the task done out of them. So always remember, it is easy to say, hey, you do this work, you do that work, and you delegate the work. But more so, it is also important to understand who can do what, right? Who has the capacity, who has the right skill. Okay, I'll put an example here. There are two boys. One boy is very good in fast sprint. He can do very fast and can quickly go and come. Very good in 100 meters race. And there's the other person who's not good at 100 meter race, but he's very good at long races, 800, 400, maybe 800 or maybe 1600, right? Now, when there's an athletic game, would you send 100 meter for 800? No, you would not, isn't it? You would know who is good at 100 and who is good at 800. So we'll put the right person right place, right? Similarly, if you have to give a task, the person who is good in communication, you will put the person in the front so that they can talk to the customers and get the deal done, right? But if the other person is good at computers but not so good in communication, you'll put him on the computer. So exactly, it's very simple that you make sure as a manager you get the right person, get the group to do work in a team so that you get the results or the goals of the organization. Now, obviously, as I said, that it is very important to have the results, and you can see the management efforts coming out from the results. So let's move on further from here and let's look at the levels and the skills in terms of management. So we just discussed about the term manager. So manager is a person who is responsible for carrying out management functions. And what are the 4 functions? Come on. Planning, organizing, leading, controlling. So manager is a person who carries out these 4 functions, obviously using his team members, right? Now, obviously there's another function that manager does. He actually is responsible for his subordinates. Yes, subordinates, people who are working under his supervision and organizing resources. What do you mean by organizing resources? Let's say that, as I was saying, the same package example from Delhi to Jammu. So let's say if one of his team members is very good in computing, he can get all the information from the computers and get the things done, send an email, whatnot. But the internet is not working. So who's responsible? Manager is responsible to make sure that his team member has the internet so that he can get the work done. So that is organizing resources. Okay, now, or at the time, if the team member does not know anything, so the manager's responsibility is to let the team member know what things are, how things work, and whatnot. Now, there are different types of managers in terms of responsibilities, the tasks that they perform. This of different types of management duties or managers. So, have you heard of the word in a hotel? You'll have a front office manager, you'll have a restaurant manager, you'll have a financial manager, you'll have a general manager, you'll have a duty manager. I was also working in the hotel, and I was to the assistant food and beverage manager. And where was I? I was in the department called room service. So I was a assistant room service manager. Now, what is this? In a hotel, the different managers. Why? Because we have divided each section into subsections. That means, I'll give you one good example here. Who knows what is pizza? Okay, yes, we all know what pizza. We love pizza, isn't it? Now, your pizza is what size? This. Well, it can be 3 sizes, bigger sizes. I have seen a pizza this big. Yes, once I think I was in US, and it was a huge pizza, huge. And they used to sell pizza by slices. One slice was so huge and thin, but anyways, there was slices. So anyways, coming back to the point. Now, in a hotel, you have, like let's say hotel is a full pizza. And the hotel means the task, the work that is there in the hotel. One slice, we divide the task into slices. So every slice has its own role to play. So when the customer comes, the front office manager makes sure that his section, when the customer comes and greeting and making sure the booking is done, and then when there's a guest check-in properly, luggage has been taken care, person sends everything, the doorman opens the door, the concierge takes and gives information, everything is done at the front office. Okay, done. And billing, whatever is done from the front office. That person goes to eat food. Goes to restaurants. The restaurant manager takes care of that, his section, right? And then room service like me, I will take care of the person who doesn't want to go to restaurant, wants to eat food from the bedroom and gives me a call. Hey, I want da. So I'll take care of my team, and so on. Financial manager will look at the finances of hotels. If the hotels are charging the right room rate, and are we going into profit or loss? What is expense? What is income of the hotel? And then comes general manager, who has overall responsibility, big boss. He takes care for everything. That means he's responsible for the whole pizza, right? He's not just for one section, he's responsible for every section. So that's how I believe this will give you example and understanding of different managers in the hotel, or as in a management. Okay. Now, how do we demonstrate or the classify managers? So we actually classify as per the levels. So as I said, front office manager, we have even if we have general manager, the assistant manager, then we have head of the department, so it will be front office manager, food and beverage manager, we have banqueting manager, we have housekeeping manager. Then we go further down levels, we have front office supervisor, we'll have kitchen supervisor, will have housekeeping supervisor, that goes down further, right? So they go as per the levels. Now, they also go as the range of activities they do in the organization. So what are different duties and activities? As I said, front office, housekeeping, that they also go there. Now, for each level and range, you literally need different skills, because as I said, the general manager is overall, he must know what is happening in housekeeping, what are different functions and duties in housekeeping, and what if there's any issue, how to fix that. He must know finance, he must know food and beverage, he must know front office, everything, even reservations. So he needs to be overall. That's why big boss is there. He has experience and expertise, and he has a lot of skills over there. And then obviously there are skills, because he may be managing maybe 400 to 1,000 people. You never know, isn't it? And a friend of mine, he is actually he is called the director culinary at Hyatt in Sydney. So he has 1,000 room hotel, and he's a manager of food and beverage department of the hotel. So I think he may have around 1,000 employees, or if not around that much. Well, at the moment they're not much because of the COVID. Otherwise, in a 1,000-room hotel where we'll have around 12 to 15 restaurants, and imagine, and the bars and whatnot, imagine how many people are working in each restaurant. So so now we will be dividing it further into levels. First level manager, as I was telling you, supervisors. So they have having a direct contact with the employees producing goods and services. Now, I believe you would know by now what is goods and what is service. So this pen is actually a goods. So that's something I can tangible, I can touch, I can feel, I can use. It is made from the factory, comes to me. But when it comes to service, it's what customer service. That means when you you call a hotel, you go to a hotel, you stay over there, and you use the hotel. And when you come back, what do you bring with you? You use the service, right? So you use when the person speaks to you, the way they speak to you, the way they make things easier for you, it's a service. Wherein when you go and you buy a pen, it's a product. So we're trying to make it more tangible, that means touchable, feelable, not feelable, touchable. You can see and feel and touch. Where in service, it's more of feeling, right? So we'll come to that point. So the first one is that first level managers, that you can actually directly interact with people who are working as I said, that front office supervisor, housekeeping supervisor. So that's first level. And then obviously you may have 2 or 3 supervisors before you have a manager on top. Okay. It's also known as supervisors. Obviously, they directly interact with employees. But in tourism, there could be an area where first level managers directly deal with the customers. You never know, depending, because in tourism you can have a very varied type of businesses, and you can have a responsibility of manager to have them. Then comes middle level manager. Let's not just take hospitality and tourism, but yes, we will keep them because that's where we are coming from. So middle level managers are actually those who give directions to first level managers or supervisors. That means a supervisor reports to your middle level manager. So let's say your supervisor reports to assistant manager, assistant front office manager, assistant housekeeping manager, assistant food and beverage manager. That's where middle level management comes. So what does middle level management do? So middle level management, let's say in housekeeping department, there's so many hotel room, 1,000 rooms. Imagine for 1,000 rooms, you can't just have one supervisor, isn't it? So each floor may have one supervisor, floor supervisor. So for those supervisors to give directions to those supervisors, let's say if there are 20 floors, so 20 supervisors, there's a lot of activity going on. So we may divide that accordingly. So these are the middle level managers who liaise and take actions and directions from your top level management and get it implemented through middle level managers. Now, then comes the top level managers or the executive general manager, board of directors, and they actually make the decision in a bigger way. So let's take this way. A restaurant manager, the highest decision that restaurant manager will take about what type of food and beverage can he sell in his restaurant, or how he wants the service for the day, how many staff will he implement, get on whatnot. But when it comes to general manager, his decisions could be, okay, how many rooms can I not sell today, or what are different new packages that can bring on whatnot. So if your restaurant manager has to do something, he needs to get approval. But general manager may also get approval, but general manager has a capacity to do many things, take bigger decisions, and he can see every department. So a restaurant manager will be only looking at his own department, right? So in the tourism, again, if the travel and tourism is there, so in tour and travels, when you're looking at it, you'll be looking at one section of your travel. Let's say you are only looking at north of India. So I'm in the department, I'm looking in North India. In North India also, there are many states. So you might be having a person who is looking for Jammu Kashmir, one is looking for Himachal, one is looking for, let's say, Punjab or whatnot, right? And then you are the one who are dealing with different people because they have different, sections in. And then what if it's a bigger organization like Cox and Kings? isn't it? Big organization. So how many people around the world working for them? Okay, so C-Thought Travels, SOTC. So what's happening? Bigger organizations. So that means they have to break it down. Again, we have to break pizza into small slices so it's easier, so that everyone knows what the responsibility and duties are. So the manager who's managing pizza will have to have a bigger decision-making power, isn't it? And they can obviously take more decision, look at more broader way, and obviously direct or lead the organization as per the required goals. Right? As I was saying, so also managers are I was talking about example of your general manager. They look at scope of or a range of organization activity they perform, such as functional managers. What are they saying? So they perform in the organization. That means what operations they do. Are they marketing managers? Are they finance managers? So marketing manager is going to what function they do? They do marketing. Finance manager they take care of the finance. Even we have what's called banqueting manager. They look at banqueting. We have your reservations manager. They look at reservations only. Okay. Now, what activities they are engaged in. Then comes general manager. As I was telling you, he is accountable for everything that happens in that particular hotel or the unit or group of hotels. I still remember when I was in your age of, well, I shouldn't say though, when I was doing this course, I did my internship in Ashoka Group of Hotels. And that time I had an opportunity to meet group general manager who was general manager for hotels in Delhi. So he was not only manager for Ashoka, the Ashok, but the Ashok Hotel, but he was general manager for 4 different hotels that he had under his supervision. Now, what happens is that a lot of functions a general managing organization they vary from the size of hotels and activities in an organization. I was just telling you that he was group general manager of 4 different hotels. So all in all, what we understood today that management is actually a skill that can be attained, right? And it is easier to attain those skills while studying out. And it is not that it's only by birth and you can have. No, it is any other skill, like a swimming is skill, management is skill. It is divided into levels, and every level is there to make sure that we all as a team work together to achieve the organization goals and objectives. For today, I'll leave you now here, and I'll see you in the next session, and we shall go further. Thank you so much for attending the session. Have a good day.